1337. 26 knots down the angle. 106 interval with a rhino at 5. Good. 207 on black pass on course 1 mile. Good. 207 on black pass on.
In September 2009, the New Zealand military deployed an 82-man strong contingent known as Task Force 81 that was largely drawn from the New Zealand S.A.S. to the Afghan capital city of Kabul. For the New Zealand S.A.S, this deployment, which was codenamed Operation Wadia, was their third tour of Afghanistan, with the previous two having taken place in the early 2000s, and saw the unit focus on long-range reconnaissance patrols and high-intensity operations. Operation Wadia, however, was to be a completely different deployment, with Task Force 81 primarily focusing on the training and mentoring of the Afghan Crisis Response Unit that was based in the capital. Also known as the CRU, the Afghan Crisis Response Unit is one of the elite arms of the Afghan National Police, and is tasked with conducting counter-terrorism operations within Kabul and neighbouring provinces. Starting from September 2009, the New Zealand S.A.S took over responsibility from Norway for training the unit, and although mentoring was the focus of their mission, the New Zealanders often found themselves joining the Afghan CRU on counter-terrorism operations, including in August of 2011 when they were mobilised in response to a Taliban attack against the British Council office complex. The attack had begun at 0530 on the 19th of August 2011 when an Afghan police checkpoint was attacked, opening the way for a vehicle-borne IED to drive up to the main gate of the British Council complex and detonate over 500 kilograms of explosives. The explosion not only destroyed the front gate but also created a large breach in the outer perimeter wall, enabling 4 armed militants to begin a ground assault on the offices. Storming into the grounds of the complex, the insurgents were met by gunfire from the on-site security, which was provided by 4 veterans of the British Army's Royal Gurkha Rifles, who succeeded in momentarily halting the attack. This delay in action, fought by the ex-Gurkhas, enabled the 3 workers who were inside the main building at the time to run to a secured room and make contact via cell phone with the British Embassy in Afghanistan, to whom they raised the alarm of the unfolding attack. Meanwhile, back outside, the 4 ex-Gurkhas continued to hold the enemy at bay until 2 of them became wounded near the main gate, and the other 2 were forced to retire into the building from where they sought refuge on the top floor. Eventually, by 0600 on the 19th of August, the remaining 3 militants had entered and seized control of the British Council building, with the 2 ex-Gurkhas and 3 workers trapped inside. As news of the attack spread, friendly reinforcements began to pour into the area, including Afghan policemen, British and US troops, and 2 Apache helicopters which circled above. In addition, the Afghan Crisis Response Unit was mobilised to the scene to lead the counter-terror operation, with a team of 16 New Zealand S.A.S troopers from Task Force 81 joining them in a support and advisory role. Arriving at the site of the attack in the mid-morning, the S.A.S team were briefed on the situation, before several operators moved off and established an overwatch position in the bottom left corner of the complex's courtyard, from where they were able to gain a better understanding of its layout and draw up a plan on how to retake the council building. Given that the New Zealand S.A.S were in a mentoring role to the CRU, the decision was made for the Afghans to execute the assault plan and neutralise the terrorists, whilst the S.A.S oversaw the evacuation of the civilians. Beginning at approximately 1100 on the 19th of August 2011, the Afghan CRU assault team moved up to the outer perimeter wall that surrounded the British Council offices. With them were a couple of New Zealand S.A.S operators who blew a hole in the perimeter wall through which the assault team passed and into the courtyard of the complex. Simultaneously, an S.A.S support element maintained the overwatch position located at the lower left of the courtyard, when at 11:35 they received a considerable amount of small arms and machine gun fire materialising from the main building. Pinned down, some of the New Zealanders attempted to return fire and get into better positions, including Corporal Douglas Grant, who whilst climbing a staircase adjacent to the overwatch position, was hit in his side through the opening of his body armour and knocked to the ground. Seconds later, a call that a man was down was received, with Lance Corporal Leon Smith, an S.A.S medic who was attached to the Afghan assault team, briefly moving out into an exposed position and positively identifying the location of Corporal Grant. Seeking permission to go over and assist the wounded corporal, Lance Corporal Smith was ordered to wait until a ballistic shield was brought forward to provide him with a degree of protection when crossing the courtyard. The citation for Lance Corporal Leon Smith's New Zealand Gallantry Decoration, the third highest military award for New Zealand, takes up what happened. Once he received the shield and without thought for his own safety and with insurgent fire landing around him, Lance Corporal Smith leapt over a wall and across exposed and open ground and up the same stairs where Corporal Grant had been shot. Finding Corporal Grant, Lance Corporal Smith began to provide immediate medical treatment, applying first aid to the wound and commencing CPR, which he continued to administer until Corporal Grant was evacuated. Transferred from his current position to an awaiting US Black Hawk helicopter, Corporal Douglas Grant was medically evacuated to a hospital at Bagram Air Base. Sadly, despite every effort to save his life, Corporal Douglas Grant succumbed to his wounds during the flight and was pronounced as killed in action on landing at Bagram in the early afternoon of the 19th of August 2011. Whilst the efforts to evacuate Corporal Douglas Grant were underway, the operation to retake the British Council offices continued, with the Afghan assault team making a forced entry into the insurgent-held building and commencing the process of room clearance. At the same time, the attached New Zealand S.A.S. operators followed up behind and safely evacuated the 3 workers and 2 ex-Gurkhas without incident. The other 2 ex-Gurkhas, who had been wounded at the start of the attack near the main gate, had been rescued by the Afghan police a short while earlier. Elsewhere in the building, the Afghan assault team was making steady progress, and eventually at midday, contact was made with the 3 terrorists in the building's basement. Launching several assaults, the Afghans were unable to dislodge the militants, who from their defensive position were able to enfilade all the approaches with what the Afghan police later estimated was enough weapons and ammunition to fight for an entire day. Consequently, the Afghan CRU resorted to using explosives to flush the militants out, and just after 1300, 2 large explosions are heard from inside the council building, which was confirmed to be clear and back in friendly hands by the late afternoon the 19th of August 2011.